Hi everybody, how you guys doing today? So today we're gonna be talking about friendship 101. We're gonna get real very quick. Naly is gonna join us in a minute. I hope y'all doing great. Um, how was your week like? How was it? Mine was pretty busy. So yeah, looking forward to just I would say enjoying the summer. So let's see who's joining today. Hi Sarah, how you doing? Can you guys hear me well? Hi Naly. Oh, exciting. Let's get Naly in.
Hi,
Hey girl.
everybody. Hey,
How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Great. You're looking good,
You know,
as usual.
there's no summer glow today, but I'll take it.
Oh,
Thank you.
how
As
was
are you.
today?
We have like similar colors.
Yeah,
Hi,
without even
Sarah. I think
talking
I saw
about it.
Sarah. Hey, Sarah.
Yes. So if you are catching the replay, welcome to a chosen
Welcome, welcome.
moment. And this chosen moment is a little bit special. So Nali and I are going to be sharing our testimony, our friendship, and mostly we're going to talk about how we navigate through conflict and difficult times, and
Right,
just
right,
how
right.
we are sustaining our friendship. So yeah, welcome and thank you for tuning in. We're gonna
Thanks,
give you guys a
everybody,
few more
for tuning in.
minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just sharing
Um,
it out, sharing it out.
exactly. Share, share, share. While you guys are sharing,
Here we go.
Natalie, do you wanna get started with something?
Sure. So today, what we're going to be talking about for the month of June, we have had tons of conversations in regards to relationships and putting God first and all nature of relationships, friendships, romantic relationships, and just kind of the concept behind, I guess, the importance and what the foundations are and the different elements as far as your own development to establish friendships, relationships. And so, what we
Mm-hmm.
thought it would be great as normally friendships are, most relationships start out with a friendship. And so,
Yeah.
we thought it would be amazing to have a discussion about friendships that also have like those sandpaper moments, those aspects of, I mean, and those are the real deal types of things. Those are the friends that you know that you will last with because you've had those like issues, conflicts, you're able to move through things. And again, friendships are for seasons, and by no means are you, I think what we've tried to explain is that relationships are for seasons, but you just have to have that discerning of knowing what level of friendship this is, what
Yeah.
are your expectations, what how you both can benefit from it, and then really being real with each other about
Yeah.
it to be able to
Yeah.
flourish in that relationship.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that was specific about our relationship, at least on my end, is
Yeah.
that it was the first relationship that was built from church.
Yes. Yep. That's
Yeah.
true. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's talk about how we meet.
So let's
How we
talk
met,
about how
sorry.
we met. Yeah. So here's the thing. So we met, of course, all that know me know that I'm all about volunteering. I'm at the church. I'm doing everything. Everybody sometimes is like, you spend too much time at church. Um, but in any case, that's how I spent most of my time. And I remember meeting in volunteering. I remember, and I was the person that managed the. Anyone who knows me also knows that I love books and I love reading. So I was the person that was managing like how to sell content, how to sell like whatever books that we had other than Bibles, because churches do sell books other than Bibles. So just information on how to feed your spirit. And I remember someone coming up to me at our church, because at the church that we went to, they had connect groups, and they were like, hey, I had already hosted a connect group before. I think it was like Taco Tuesdays, which I would have to say was a great experience. And with a broken, I remember that year had a broken ankle, so we were going to all these taco spots in Boston, and I was running a connect group. Had a varied experience with that, so I said, I don't know if I want to do that again, but I'll just volunteer in church because I like to volunteer. And someone came up to me and said, hey, here's this new person that's here from, and I'm all about meeting new people. I'm from Boston, lived there my entire life. So when I meet
Mm-hmm.
people from somewhere else, I'm like, where are you from? Why would you come here? What? Like, I want to know more about you as a person. So they had told me, hey, there's this new person at church, and I am the queen. My third grade teacher told me that I talk a lot. So I'm the queen of knowing everybody at church. So I was like, oh, it's a new person. And another sister, I have to meet her because we were few and far between. And so when I met her, I was like, oh, it's another sister. And she got an accent. I don't know where she's from. But I remember, of course, she was way taller than me being vertically challenged. I was like, wow, this is a really tall person. And she's cool. And she carried herself in a certain kind of way. So I was like, oh, okay. And so we met, and I was like, I had a particular vibe. For those that later on know, that whole discerning of spirits, you can tell when someone's for you right away and when they're not. So I was like, I got this great vibe, and I was like, oh, she's cool. And then we just kind of continued to chat with each other from that point. And ultimately, that's where the connect groups come back. We had determined, like, let's do a connect group. Although in the beginning, I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do the connect group again. I've already been down that route. But it just goes to show that sometimes God will use people in your life to kind of shift your mentality about things. And so we met at church, ultimately started running a connect group, building and helping people around us, to kind of, we found that we had similar interests as far as just helping to impact others people's lives. And so from there, I mean, I know that's a lot in this few little minute, I said a lot of words.
But that's cool. Yeah. So what it looked like on my end
Yeah.
was me looking to have a connect group, because same as just like Naly said, like I love to volunteer and I love to grow people. So, and as an immigrant, like she said, I have an accent clearly. My connect group was my idea of the connect group was really about like helping people to get resource as immigrants. And so well, the first time we actually talked was when I came to church with my mom, who was visiting, and I learned that you were Cape Verdean, which my mom is, and then we start like connecting. But it was very like hi girl, when we met at church, how you doing? Until we had that person that thought about you for the connect
group, right?
Yeah. And then that day she's always busy doing 10,000 things at the same
because
time.
I ran the resource
saving lives, saving people, always running to help people. And we end up having an evening where it was supposed to be a 10-15 minute, just like quickly talking about the connect group. We were on the phone until 3 o'clock in the morning, just like talking about our passions, what we like to do, and what was our vision. So we went for it. So from the connect group, then the rest was history. We start like, talking to each other more. I started invading her space because she was like, because the connect group actually was like Friday meeting where we broke bread. Like I will be the one cooking. So in cooking, of course, she's alone with her son, so she doesn't have big pot. Don't ask me why, as a
single person
who live alone, I have 10,000 big pots because I'm always hosting stuff. So I brought my pot at her place, and then we start from there, like cooking and just like hosting people every Friday, doing different like events, different nights, like, and behind that, sharing our resources, sharing like the coaching and development with, inviting guests to our connect group. So that's where it started. And then from there, I think what we both noticed is how God quickly showed us the purpose of our relationship. And I think that was the something that was important for the rest of the story, because when you don't know the purpose of the relationship, when you have not defined, or when you have not figured out what God want to do through this relationship, it's easy when conflict comes to just let it go. Because we both are people that live alone. We are used to doing things our way. And it's easy for us to just be like, you know what? I don't want to deal with this. Bye. But every time, especially the first time, God had to like bring us both and be like, okay, girls, this is not what you have to do. You have to like, think about it. And every time we are in conflict, it's always about bringing God first, like bringing the vision that he gave us first, and just like remembering that and working around whatever obstacle comes our way. Because one of the other things is like when God has purposed a relationship for something, that the enemy will try to come against what God is trying to do. So do you want to talk about like how you first felt when we had to deal with like
What?
conflict.
Listen, the first time, and I will tell you right now, something that she had mentioned, like there is, especially with the types of individual histories that people have, there are a lot of things that people go through in life that will establish the way in which you do relationship.
Yeah.
And a lot of it sometimes has to do with trust. There's a lot of trust issues. There might be things that you've experienced. And I think I have learned, especially through this process, that all of it is part of your plan. All of these issues that you go through will get you to a point where you need to learn how to trust God more than you trust yourself or the things that you have developed. So
True.
I think in my specific history of dealing with things, conflict was not one of them. Like I was a cut and run. Like if we have an issue, I'm like, okay, bye, Felicia. Okay, I see you, and then that'll be the last time I talk to you ever. And so I had to learn how to deal with that, especially because she is more of a person that is forthcoming with conflict and wants to deal with it right there. And I'm like, no.
Not let's say this. I don't always deal with it right there because there is like a part of emotional
Yeah,
intelligence that is involved. There are times when you have to address the details because what the devil will do is that he'll add up those details, and if you don't address it, then it becomes a bomb, right? But like there are other times
right.
when you feel like, okay, this is not the right time, we can talk about this later.
Yeah,
You have to let this air out a little bit before you come
right.
back. But like, yeah, just
So
want to
I think,
clarify.
yeah, I'm glad that you clarified that because even in that airing out, I was a person that I'm not even airing. Like we're not even talking about it anymore. Like I'm just done with this. I'm putting it away. I'm just not gonna act like this is not happening. But the downfall to that is that when these circumstances happen and you do that down the line, which I think we all, have accustomed to at one point in our lives, it'll be the trigger that will blow up into something else because it was something
Yeah.
that was never really addressed. So
Yeah.
I think the first time, we had a conflict. Was this the one in Chicago?
It was the one in
Yeah, this
Chicago.
was the one in Chicago, which
You have
started
to talk.
it's simply about like getting food. It was something as simple as getting food. And I think a lot of it is when you're in relationship with someone, whether it be, friendship or whatever, you have to kind of learn to gauge that person and understand like the different levels of communication as far as
Yeah.
what your communication levels and efforts are and what theirs are. And I think sometimes you can be ignorant to the other person's communication because you're just used to, especially if you're used to doing this solo walk, you know how to handle your stuff. You
Yeah.
don't know how to deal with other people's stuff. So when at this particular instance, when we were traveling at a particular conference and it was like, oh, hey, let's go get something to eat. And I was like, oh, okay, but I'm going to do A, B, and C. Let me figure out this thing. And then it became like this, like, hey, we probably should get something to eat. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because I'm a person that I realize that sometimes people get hangry, and I realize that I'm not one of those people that get hangry. I can go hours.
So that's your way of saying that I get hangry.
Yeah, that's what I coined that term at that time. I'm like, okay, she gets hangry. But I never really understood it. I was like, I don't understand why this is an issue. And ultimately it became a problem where someone's maximum, like someone had reached, she had reached her maximum. I'm still here at this lower level. And it was like, can we get something to eat now? And I was like, I was like, I didn't think that it was that bad. I can eat anywhere. And then it became, because of her being at her level and had reached her boiling point and me not being anywhere near that, I was like, well, the reaction that you're having to this communication about food seems to not be that serious. And so on her perspective, I can't speak for you, but on your perspective, it was kind of like, you're not taking this at the level of seriousness that I am.
Yeah. For
And
me, it
I'm
was more like, I've been saying this because I know how I get. So
Yeah.
for me, it was more like, okay, I've been talking about food for the last 30 minutes. We're getting close to an hour
30
to
minutes, and
choosing
I'm like,
to choosing a place to eat because I already was like, so this was also our first time traveling together. And
right.
just to say this, I think if you really want to know somebody, you have to travel with the person.
Yep.
Because that's the best
That's
way
how you'll find
of
out.
knowing who the person really is out of their comfort zone, out of their environment.
Out of
By
their
the
regular
way, thank you
environment.
all for joining. Thank you
Yeah.
for tuning in with us this evening. We are sharing the testimony of our friendship and how we walk through conflicts and the different aspects of them.
how you
So
grow it.
please don't let this be like a back and forth between Naly and I. Feel free in
Yes,
the
please ask
comments
questions.
to ask questions,
Or
share your
different
testimony,
going
share
on.
your advices.
Yeah.
Please interact with us,
Or
okay?
your
So that,
experiences. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So back to the story. So
Yeah.
um we were at the conference all day. We were getting to the afternoon. We had a couple of like I'll say less than an hour to
Right.
figure out food and come
Food
back to the
and get back.
location. So because we have two, like she said, we have two level of like communication, but also we are two different people, and we are still at the beginning of our friendship, so we're
Friendship.
learning to know each other. So for me, on the other end, it was like, man, it's been 40 minutes that we're trying to find a location to eat, and we both are picky when it comes to food.
Yeah.
She
Well,
said
anybody who knows
she
me.
can eat anywhere, but that's not true.
Yeah, that's
So
not
for
really
me,
true. That's not really true. I'd be
for
like,
me at that
well,
point, it was like,
no.
can you figure out a way what you want around this place, because we don't have a lot of choices, because I'm getting to that level where I'm moving from hungry to hangry.
Right.
Okay.
And I'm here like, how does someone physiologically, like, because I'm trying to intellectualize this, how does someone physiologically get to a point that you're like, your emotions are connected? You're like, I think I'd never seen that before. So I was like, oh, I've never seen this, but I know that I'm that kind of person that will take forever to look at something, determine like, what do I like this? Even now, if I go to restaurants, I'm
Yeah.
like, wait. It takes me, I have to go to this menu. If I've never been there before, I'm a person of habit. So, you know, coming out of the box, I was just like, okay, we've never traveled before together. We have a limited amount of time. I think we were focused on some other sweater type of thing at the time as
And we
well.
were on a budget too.
We were on a budget, so we were like, we got to find somewhere where we both want to eat. Picky eaters, both want to eat close by. It's
Yeah.
Chicago in October, so it's a little nip. So we don't want to be trying to go too far. And so let's see what we can find. And so,
Yeah.
and then mind you, everybody else at this conference is doing the same thing. So then most places are probably already busy.
Yeah.
So at this point, I was just, this has been going on for at least an hour or so at this point. So we're going back and forth, back and forth. Finally, I was just like, okay, fine, let's go eat wherever. It's fine. And, because here becomes the shut it down mentality. I was just like, you know what? Whatever you want to eat is fine. You know how we did.
Which was not the truth.
Yeah, I was like, whatever, what's close, let's go eat there. And so the place that I think that you were like, okay, this is close, because in her mind now, she's like, what do you want to eat? And so now I'm like up against the wall, and I'm like, I don't know what I feel like eating. I don't have any specific, instance right now, because I don't have that level of hunger to say I feel like eating this. I'm kind of in my mind thinking I'm open to eating whatever. But then I'm like, but I'm not open to eating this. But I'm open to eat whatever, but I really don't want to eat that. But
exactly.
not necessarily
But not
communicating.
exactly.
Not communicating that to her, where she's like, I could go for this at this time right now. And this had been going on for, like I said, about a 30, 40-minute window. So we finally come to this point where we're like, let's just walk and see what's available. And I think the first place that we came to was a rib spot. And you know me, I was already like, well, fine, we can eat there. Because I'm already feeling like, you know what? We have to do this right now, because she's getting worked up. I'm getting worked up. I don't even like ribs. I don't even like Southern food. But
Me neither.
What do they have? So I remember us going there to eat. I'm already agitated. At this point, I'm like, and that at that point, like, you just don't really even feel like eating.
Not even talking.
You're not even talking. We're not even talking. I'm just like, okay, what is there? What is there on the menu? And so then it's even more picky. Like, I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this. Let me just get water with lettuce, which is not.
And I went off. And I was like, girl, no.
I'll just get like the most basic thing, because and it was one of those like, you're going off. You over here dying because you like, I of course I'm over exaggerating at this point, but at the time I was like, you were dang on near close to death because you couldn't find somewhere to eat. And she's like, I've been trying to communicate with you for 40 minutes about where we should eat, and you're not giving me any specifics. So me not understanding how things work for her, and then her not necessarily not understanding that I am a person of like, I need time to process.
Yeah.
I think it caused us to have that moment, especially in a new environment.
Yeah.
In an environment that, in a relationship that we were new to, and traveling. So there's a whole bunch of stress. So we were and I think we actually like had the discussion after we ate our meals that we were kind of like,
while we were waiting for the meal.
while
So
we
what
were waiting for
happened after that is like, why I got upset is like, you told me you could eat anything. So we went to some place and then you don't want to eat anything because you don't like it. I'm like, why you didn't tell me that you don't like it? You just said anything. You just said what? And
and
so
I was
for
like, I
me,
can do anything. I can do
for
anything.
me, the thing is like, I'm
Yeah.
very like, I mean what I say and I say what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
which is not the case for everybody. So if
Right.
you are new, as my friend, I would say things directly and it can be very shocking. But the
Mm-hmm.
thing is like I say things as I mean it because when I say what do you want to eat, I really mean what do you want to eat because I know that you're not
Right.
gonna eat anything.
Right.
So I'm easy. I can be very laid back. I can work out any situation, especially
Right.
when I'm hungry and I'm getting to the hunger part. Like
Yeah.
so I can just eat. I just need to eat so that my emotion get back on track. But
Right.
the thing is like I was upset because I'm like, you told me something that you didn't mean. So
Right.
that,
And
and
I,
then, yeah,
no, yeah, I'm sorry about that. I said, and I am the
yes.
kind of
Shaniqua
person,
said yes, very direct. Yeah.
yeah, I'm the kind of person that if I see like a situation going wrong, going awry, I will quickly just, okay, just to kind of deal,
Dismiss.
to
Yeah.
deflect and
Yeah.
not deal with the conflict, not deal with the kind of like that, I have to kind of really deal with that people pleasing mentality of I'm just going to say yes to go with the flow and not necessarily express what I want to express because if I
Mm,
say that, it's going to cause more of an issue. So never mind. I'm just going
yeah.
to
So,
go
and then
move on.
after we order our meal, I was like, so I can clearly see her face. And I'm like,
Because
are you
I
gonna,
can't hide it. I can't hide
I'm
it
like,
anywhere
are you
around.
gonna stay like this or are we gonna talk about it? And she was like, I don't feel like talking right now.
I was
I'm
like, we're
like,
gonna
but
what?
guess what? We're gonna talk
I
about it
was like, we're
because
going to what?
I'm like, we're gonna talk about it because if we don't talk about it, it's gonna be an issue all evening, and the reason why we're here is not gonna be accomplished.
Right.
So, and then we walked through the process of. So I have a way of dealing with conflict. So I was trained for it, and that helped also.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you have to break points. So the first thing that you do is actually talk about what you felt and what happened, right?
Right.
And
Your
how it
perspective.
make you feel. What it
Right.
looks like is like this. Talking about that food situation. Hi, Naly. Okay, Naly. When what happened was, what I was telling you the first time that I was hungry, it
Mm-hmm.
was in with the perspective that we will start thinking about something, knowing that I know what you like, what you don't like, what you can eat, so that we
Right.
have time. But
Right.
we spent 45 minutes like just picking a place, and then you told me that you could eat whatever. So when we came to this place and you were not ready to eat, it made me feel like you didn't tell me exactly how you felt,
Right.
but I was transparent with you.
Right.
So that place from there, and I'm like, what I'm trying to do is I want to express how it make me feel, and I want to also see your perspective, which she
Right.
explained. And then we were like, okay, from this point forth, how do we avoid this kind of situation moving forward? So
Right.
how do we from this point what our find out our triggers and then decide that okay, when I reach this point, this is what we're going to do.
This is what we're
That's
gonna
what we have put in place. That's one of the things that we have put in place in our friendship is okay, when we reach this point of conflict or when we reach this point of
do.
back and forth or disagreement,
Right.
this is our plan B. This is what we're going to do to
Right.
avoid saying or doing things that are going to
Right.
like hinder our conversation or say things that we don't mean. What do you think, Nadi?
And yes, I do agree with that. And I think there was also a certain level of transparency that needed to happen and a certain level of awareness and accountability about our own actions and our
Yeah.
own thoughts and perceptions of conflict and how to address it. You know what I mean? Because as you can see, she clearly had like this articulate method of how this should happen. And I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, it's as simple as that. I ain't gonna do it. So it was kind of like, okay, but why am I doing that? Why is it that I'm like, I ain't gonna talk about it. You ain't gonna make me talk about it. I'm not gonna deal with it right now. And when I want to deal with it, I'll let you know. But like that's unhealthy. So I had to realize what in me was causing me to want to like just veer off to the left and not wanting to have those discussions that would flourish relationship. And like it does require a lot of soul searching. It does require that transparency within yourself and to others about the way in which you have chosen to deal with things in the past,
Yeah.
why you've done that, in order to kind of establish any type of level of here's how we deal with a situation that we may not like, how we help in a healthy way. How do we
Yeah.
deal with a situation in a healthy way? So if you can't acknowledge, you know, the barriers that you have in place, how is a person, someone else, going to be able to establish that?
Mm-hmm.
You
So
know?
Shaniqua has two questions actually. The
Yeah.
first one is more like about
Actually,
how when you say how did you overcome that people pleasing mentality, and do you feel like it can hinder the growth of your relationship, of your friendship?
I
I'll let
mean,
you answer that.
yeah, the people pleasing mentality, it's like, as I said prior, there's a lot of internet, you know, inner development that you need to do. There's a lot of aspect, because for me, I had to go and see where that was rooted from. What
Mm-hmm.
was it? Was it the orphan spirit? What was that level that I had in me that made me want to always get the approval of someone else to do things that I knew that I didn't like or I didn't want to please
Yeah.
the situation? So
Yeah.
I had to deal with those particular things. And so what I would advise, you know, people who are also doing that, introspection is needed. And that's,
Yeah.
it's harder to say. I mean, it's easier to say than it is to do, but it does, like, you need to start paying attention to your own habits in order to
Yeah.
kind of develop that muscle of why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And I feel like it can hinder the growth of relationships, because if you're
It
never
does.
being truly transparent and you're never being real, it can build resentment to a certain degree, because you feel like you're always gonna do what this other person wants to do, and you're always feeling like, well, my way never gets heard and I never get to do the things that I want to do, but I'm not communicating those things to that other person.
Yeah.
They're going along thinking all is well,
Yeah,
but because
I
I
think,
keep
yeah. No, you're right. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you, but just
Mhm.
to pinpoint that point, like
Yeah.
unexpressed expectations are very dangerous for a
Mm-hmm.
relationship. Like, and for me, that's where communication is very key.
Right.
Being able to be vulnerable and
Yeah.
transparent is another key.
Ooh,
And
vulnerability.
yeah, the third one is also as a friend, you have to be the friend that you want the people to be with you, which means that you have to be able to be graceful with your friends, right? So if
Right.
somebody trusts you enough to be
I
vulnerable
heard
with
you.
you,
Mhm.
you
Go ahead.
have to be able to actually respect and honor that vulnerability and
Right.
not throw it back in their face when something
Exactly.
happened.
Yeah.
That's very, very important
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
able
Yeah.
to respect and honor somebody's transparency and
Vulnerable.
vulnerability,
Right.
because it's not something that somebody opens up to
Easily.
everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's not an easy thing to do. And it's something that's helping someone else build trust. So
yeah.
if someone has already had bad issues with trust in allowing people
Mm-hmm.
into their lives, when they come to that point where they're establishing and pulling back layers, I think you have to be very careful in how to address that. And you're going to have those slip ups, you're going to have those moments, but you're going to have to know, you know what? I have to acknowledge that this person is any kind of relationship. They're allowing me to get to a point that may be past their level of comfort or beyond that wall or gate that
Mm-hmm.
they have established. And you have to learn how to respect that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's also where you understand that um I think one of the mistakes that people do when they think about relationship, they always think about like courting relationship, dating
Oh,
relationship.
yes.
But I think friendship for me is one of those relationship that is very much like partnership, life partnership, right? So
Right.
when you choose a friend, it's almost like preparation for your married life, because when
Right.
you don't know how to do friendship the right way, you don't
Uh,
know how to do other relationship the right way.
listen.
So, and the particularity with Naly and I is, I think we always put God first. So understanding that
Yeah.
some relationship are meant for a reason and some others are just meant for a season, and being okay with letting go of the relationship that are seasonal and not
Right.
forcing that, because when you force relationship that are supposed to end, what happens is that there is a lot of frustration, there is a lot of like it just does not work. You
It
really
does.
have to bring it to God and be like, God, is this your will? And then he will give you instruction, he will grace you.
Right.
I believe God grace people for other people.
No
Like I
doubt.
have other friends, but like and my relationship with my friends are different.
Right.
And the one thing that I noticed for each of my friends is that they have a lot of character, because I've been
Mm-hmm.
graced for people who know what they want and who have like what people call a strong personality, you
Right.
know. So for me, I saw Nadia as being a strong woman, but in some of the interaction, as soon as there is something that doesn't work in a way that she was expecting or in ways that she
Mm-hmm.
is used to, then she has like this blockage, this
The
wall
front
that just
run.
come up. And
Mm-hmm.
I was, thank God, I was graced to be able to understand that
Right.
and to be able to kind of like go around the wall and start like breaking the wall down
Right.
from her side. And I think God also helped in ways that I pray for her, she pray for me. We
Mm-hmm.
have meetings set up once a week to pray together, to,
Constant
you know,
communication.
exactly, and to walk through, you know, whatever it is that we need to walk through. If we had conflict during the week, we
Right.
usually don't let conflict stay
Linger.
all linger
Linger, because I mean the
even
Bible
for the
says not to
night.
go to bed angry, but we have had our
Exactly.
moments where we're like, yeah, we're gonna have to let's take a 24 hour.
Yeah.
But there's a clear communication aspect of we will come back. That's one of the techniques
Yeah.
I think Shaniqua asked. We will say, and then it also is on my part to follow through with that. We will come back to have this discussion. It won't be something sideswiped because, and I, acknowledge Karlita for being the one that's like, remember the discussion that we had? When we said we were going to have? Because listen, God ain't through with us yet. It will be a thing where it's like, okay, this kind of floated off and I'm just going to let it kind of float. And then
Yeah.
there are other times where it's like, God's like, well, I'll let you get through your emotional upheaval you were having at the moment about it, but it's still something that needs to be like sorted out. Have to agree that this is great teaching for future long-term relationships, whether romance relationships and whatnot, because it helps you to deal with those snags that you may have, but cut that mentality of like, nah, I need to be out. Like this is not gonna work. This is not, you know what I mean? Because God's like, no, when you have been destined to be with this particular person, he's gonna be able to teach you how to deal with that personality in friendship, because it is a level of preparation, not only in romance but in business and all that you do. You're going to come across people that have different personalities, different ways of doing things, and he's giving you the tools and what you need to be able to not only build those relationships but flourish those relationships, because you don't know who you're going to impact from those relationships. So
Yeah.
I think that for me has been something, just an amazing area of development, whereas it's okay, bye Felicia ain't gonna work all the time. You can't just, because then you're not gonna have no friends. Then you're not gonna you're not gonna have people, because people need people. In the words of
Yeah.
Apostle Stevenson, people need people. You know what I mean? There's
Absolutely.
no,
Absolutely.
I'm rolling this race by myself.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
And just to add to the question, Shaniqua, about how you manage different
Different
personality,
personalities,
I
right?
think one of the things I'm passionate about psychology and sociology, generally speaking. I like to learn people. I like to understand people. And I think one of the things that I do with my very close friend is that we allow each other to learn about our personality tests. Like we go
Right.
through a whole bunch of personality tests and we share them so that we study each other. We literally study each other's
Mm-hmm.
personality so that we know that when something happens, it's not just, oh, this is just who she is. No, it's really
Exactly.
like this is how she functions. And
Right.
the reason why I'm learning to know her is that because I'm intentional about the relationship, and
Exactly.
I know that this is how she functions. So I'm gonna accommodate some of the things so that she feel honored and respect. For us, is another way of respecting and honoring each other. Because one of the things that
Yeah.
you don't want your friends to do is to feel like they have to be in agreement with you all the time. And I
Mm-hmm.
know when people see us, they think that we agree all the time when we actually don't.
We do
Most of
not.
the time we don't agree, but because we have worked our relationship in a way where we understand each other, and
Right.
we have learned to do like to compromise and just to look at like what is the bigger purpose, like what is the goal,
Exactly.
like how do we reach there. Okay,
Right.
my method
Right.
is not good, yours is better, let's go with yours. And it's just like a process of like constantly being in communication, but also constantly listening to God and being honest with
Exactly.
yourself. when you feel like your feelings are getting in the way, you have to push them to the side and then sort through that mess, like Nali
Right.
said. Where
Right.
is my part of responsibility in whatever happened? And learn to apologize, because that's one thing that we don't do often.
Ooh, the
Like,
learning to
just be like, hey, listen, girl,
apologize.
I said this, I didn't mean it this way. I really apologize. This
Mm.
is not what I meant. This is what I was going through, and I'm sorry. Moving forward, I'll do
Right.
this and this and that. So for me, it's very important to find solutions and to say, moving forward, this is what we're doing. And you
Right.
have to honor that. You have to honor the moving forward
Right.
strategy that you have decided to go for. Like if I say, when you say this, it makes me feel this way because of what I've been through and I'm working through it. I need time to process. Moving forward, when I get this type of like conversation, when we get to this point, if you feel like you're gonna say this, let's just leave it alone
Yeah.
and just be quiet about it. It's a
Yeah.
process.
Or like deciding to, if did we answer her question? I think
Did
we
we answer
answered.
your question, Shaniqua?
I hope we did. Because I see okay. Um, because I think, wait, I lost my train of thought. I think part of it as well is kind of like acknowledging the fact that I had a point that I was going with and I think I lost it. In trying to answer her, and to make sure we answered her question, that I'm like, where was I going with that? But I think that, I agree with what you're saying. I think that a lot of it, like you said a key thing about the strategy. And I think a lot of it is that sometimes we don't look at friendship as something that requires strategy. Like we don't think that it requires, it's just like, hey, we cool. We can be cool. And then when instances come up or situations come up, there's no strategy as to how to deal with that situation. And I think the other aspect that you had talked about was honor and respect. And I feel like sometimes that is not given the same level of importance as it is other than, rather than in romance relationships. Like if in those romantic relationships, like you will, and even then some people, it's just like, hello, that should be obvious. But in friendships, it's not given that same level. And I think that's where sometimes, people have that struggle. And I think that it's sometimes okay to say, when you don't see that in a relationship and you don't see that effort, to say maybe this relationship is for a season. That's when you have to start looking at it and say, what have I poured into this? Have I received pouring back? And at this point, if there's not, if we're not at that level, then maybe this may be something that needs to be changed, or this might have be, not the fact that like I'll never be cool with you again, but maybe it's like, okay, we'll have this level of relationship at this point or not. You know what I mean? So you have to make that determination based on the nature of your relationships.
Yeah. I think it's important to determine the nature and the purpose of the relationship.
Right.
Because from there, you are able to just know how much you invest or not in the relationship. And like, is it Juicy?
Is there another question?
That right?
Because is there another question? Because all I see is Shaniqua's box.
Yeah. No, Josie Danny was giving like some comments
about
that's
Josie,
like often women are raised in misogynistic environments.
So they want to prevail. Okay.
Yeah, not because they are bad. Yeah, that's very true. That's one thing that our society has groomed us to think like that brainwashing that as Black women we can work together.
Right.
And
like
that's another aspect. That's another dimension of my relationship with Naly, is that we are also business partners. Mm-hmm. So our relationship is literally multidimensional because we do manage like 3 businesses together at this point.
Right.
And we have a lot of projects within those businesses that we work together. So it's really like the intentionality and like Shaniqua's, coming back to Shaniqua's question, being able to know each other's personality so that we know,
because the devil is a liar,
how to work around it. It's really like an emotional intelligence.
Exactly. No, I think that's so
like
true.
Really, really like being intentional, but also knowing what are her limits, what are my limits, and her knowing what are my limits, and understanding, okay, she's getting tired. And it's literally like being intentional. I couldn't emphasize more. It's intentionality, and really like when you love somebody, you pay attention to the person.
Right.
So
whether it's business or anything else.
Anything else.
Add that, like you are aware.
And I feel like when it's meant to be, when the friendship is meant to be, then God give you wisdom to know how to manage the relationship. Exactly. And you just sometimes have to learn to just let some things go because
And she took the words out of my mouth.
It's not worth it. Some things are
I'm
just
gonna
not
start
worth
singing.
it. It's
Frozen in here.
pettiness. Yeah.
Because I mean, to add on, I think that, you know, as I mentioned before, the things that we have, the specific experiences and the environments in which we have grown up, whether it's our socioeconomic status or where we've been, kind of frame our ways of thought and who we are. And it was a struggle for me to learn to let things go, because I was the kind of person that I'm like, no, I'm going to get to my point and I'm going to say these two things. And the Lord was like,
wait a minute. When she says say these things, she mean text these things.
And I was a texter. Like I'm
not the text kind of person.
I'm a wordsmith, so I'm gonna.
She'll be texting like paragraphs.
Like,
I'm like,
why
girl,
do you always want to talk about it? Why do
I'm
you?
like, here she is. She don't want to talk about it, but she want to text about
it. But I will text it because I'm like, let me
okay.
but let me just say that the Lord had to address that with me, because it was a aspect of me wanting to get the word in, and I don't, because in a text you can't interrupt me, so I'm gonna say everything I have to say. And the Lord was like, why are you doing that? All right, what, you know, it was one of those things where he was like, are you for real now?
Prosecutor.
Yeah, the prosecutor. He had to be like,
yeah, exactly.
For us that use a lot of words and can talk and like get our points across, the prosecutor, I will take that label. It was something where the Lord had to teach me to shut up. Like, you want to say all these things, but they're not necessary. So what are you trying to prove or you know, satisfy yourself with in trying to say these words that are not going to help this situation? So there's been instances where I was like, okay, stop. Look at it as a whole. Even today, our situation that we had today, I was like, first of all, let me just look at this trick of the enemy, because he's trying to get me to get, like, my Twitter fingers was ready. And I was like, wait, because it's been a process. Once we establish this like level of relationship, when you know how to interact with one another, you then start to realize what are my efforts that are causing this relationship to not function as smoothly as it could. And so then once I realized the efforts that the enemy would try to use, these giftings that I have that the enemy would try to use in a way that would kind of cause friction in a relationship, I had to stop and say, you may have a lot of words and you may want to say all these things, but are they necessary to be said? What are they going to solve? What you know, issue is this? This is just going to basically uproot a different issue other than what the original issue was. So there's not, you know, so you have to come to a point within yourself to say, you know what, you might think these particular things, but then you really have to, it goes back to what we were talking about, having the emotional intelligence, knowing that this is not necessary for this situation. It may be something that I need to process my own feeling, determine what it is, acknowledge where I'm upset, and realize that has nothing to do with this person. It was just, it may be a trigger that I had about something else, like I said in the past, some other experience that now this person has said, and now it's causing me to want to, and the Lord's like, take several seats. That has nothing.
Yeah. And I think understanding each other's, like, one of the tests that we do, I mean, for friendship that I do with my friend, is the love language one.
That is so good.
Understanding each other's love language help us kind of like entertain the relationship. What is important to her? What is important to me? Understanding our anger assessment, understanding our apology assessment, understanding our type of personality, like,
trains of thought, like how do we
exactly, and just like being able to be like, okay, this is not the moment, or okay, this is what's happening. And what the vulnerability does is that because she has shared some things with me, when she's triggered by some certain things, I don't take it personal anymore, because I can see that
that's the
how
key.
the enemy is trying to use her past to trigger her and to hinder the relationship. Same thing for me, because I've shared some things with her.
Exactly.
When I get triggered by certain things, she just don't mind me anymore.
Yeah.
Because
so now I don't automatically jump to a conclusion.
That's the thing. When I get upset, I don't talk. First of all, I'm not a big talker. So when I'm in a relationship and I'm trying to talk and to walk through conflicts, that means that I care about the relationship, because otherwise you'll have me like deuces. So when I'm really, really upset, what she does is like she don't want to talk, but she want to text. And I don't want to text at that point, because
I'm a texter.
what text would do is that the text will have you mix your feelings and interpret the text the way you think the person is talking versus jumping in a call and actually jumping in on the FaceTime and
Right.
seeing the person face and then having the conversation, because
Right.
there is like a element of like body posture that actually
Exactly.
talks a lot more sometimes than having
And
to,
tone.
yeah, the
And
tone
tone.
too, the tone
And
too,
tone.
and even the
We've had that
silences, I'll
discussion.
say, you
We've
know,
had
the
that discussion.
silences, like
Yeah.
some of the things that we have to learn to do, and it's going to be one of the blog posts that you have to watch out for coming soon,
Yeah.
is the power of silence in our
Mm.
relationship with God, with ourselves, but also with others.
With others.
Sometimes you being silent is a bomb by itself.
Right.
I know how sometimes me being quiet has avoid some, you know, thing that could have gone dramatic and help me process what is my feeling and what
Right.
is my responsibility versus what just happened and what I didn't like about it, why didn't I like about it, just like really like having that introspection
Mm-hmm.
moment.
But I think too, like just to clarify on that point, it's silence not as a weapon, but as a way in which to develop, like you said, the introspection. Because
Yes,
sometimes women will use the silence as a weapon. Like, I'm just not gonna talk to you.
yes, yes,
I'm just what in your mind, in my mind, you know, at one point in time, my mind was still churning. I'm still churning, but I'm gonna be silent because I just don't want to talk to you and I don't want to deal with it.
yeah,
Where now, once you go through that level of, you know, emotional maturity to a certain degree, it's more of I am intentionally keeping silent because I need to process this internally and determine, you know, where was I incorrect? What would be the best way in
yeah,
which to communicate this? What take apart the issue
yeah,
and not using it, you know, not using that weapon of silence as, you know, a dagger later, like,
yeah.
well, you know,
Turn the
A, B, and
weapon
C
into something powerful.
into something powerful, right?
That's one thing that we do, and then
I'm like,
how we do it is just being like, girl, I need to process this, or I need time to
right,
process, I'll get back to you, like she said
exactly.
earlier. So thank you guys for joining. I mean, if you have questions, please don't hesitate. If you
Please
have
feel free to drop
advices,
them in.
can you guys tell us about like how you guys navigate through relationship? If you are watching the replay, do not hesitate to put your comment in the box. We'll get back to you.
Right.
How are some of the ways that you guys navigate through relationship and friendship? Like,
Especially
how
during this Corona time.
exactly?
I
So,
mean,
how? I mean, for me, one of the questions that I have for you guys is like, what is the oldest like friendship? How old is your oldest
yeah,
friendship? If that makes sense.
yeah,
Can you put that in the comment? Like, and what kind of relationship do you have with that old friend? For me, it's
right.
like I still have friends from childhood, and we
Mm,
still connect. You know, every here and there, we are on the phone, we check on each other. And
right,
friendship has different aspects. You know, we're
right,
not saying that our friendship, our technology for friendship is the best,
right,
but it has helped us navigate through conflicts. And
right,
I'm not even talking about like small conflicts. I'm talking about big conflicts because,
right,
like I said before, we are friends, but we
right.
also business
A
partners.
business
So,
partner.
and one of the trigger in relationship, in friendship, in relationship in general, is money.
Ooh,
Is money,
dollar
and you
bills,
have to
y'all.
learn to navigate through those that aspect
Situations.
of the relationship.
Listen, okay? Because money, let me just tell you right now, dollar bill, y'all. That will, and that is something that the enemy will use no matter what relationship you got.
Yeah,
Because it is a, you know, as the Bible says, you know, it's the whole root of all evil. But it's like the concept because it triggers the emotional things that you have in your life. You know what I mean? So money doesn't buy happiness, money doesn't do all these things, but the emotional issues that you may have, the lack thereof will cause all kinds of problems,
yeah,
or the abundance of will cause all kinds of problems because you have not internally dealt with those issues in which money can trigger. And
yeah,
so then it, you know what, it's the perceptions. We'll have particular discussions about things, and the preconceived notions that we have established in our own lives,
mm,
especially when you're coming into union with someone who is a friendship business partner, you know, more than that, when you haven't dealt with these preconceived notions and so, things with money come up, it becomes a very sore spot. And I think in a lot in the Black community, it's something that people don't necessarily talk about. Like we don't, you know what I mean? It's always like we're trying to get it. We're trying to hustle. We're trying to make this money. Yeah. But like when those big issues come up, it's things that automatically money is symbolic of your worth. You know what I mean? Money is symbolic of your level of joy. Like money is symbolic of a lot of things, which in essence, it isn't really, but it's just how it's been used in the past to manipulate relationship. And I think that it isn't a discussion that's had enough, because money is one of the things that the Bible mentions the most out of all things. But I think it's something that you need to learn how to, again, there's a certain level of vulnerability and transparency, as we talked about, because another person is not going to know if you make a reference about something and it affects me a certain kind of way and it's about money. They're not going to know the way that I've been affected unless I'm talking to you and say, you know what, when you said this, it made me think of this. And if you're not comfortable in that space to even say that, you'll take that and be offended. And that offense is just the seed of what will continue to develop when you have it, address the issue, or just be transparent enough to say, like, I got these things wrong with me, or these are the areas that I'm not good at. Like, I have A, B, and C issues with this. Yeah. And if you can't say that to someone else, then that becomes, they're not going to know that. And that becomes like, it's a landmine of situations that can happen. You know what I mean?
And I think one of the things that people take for granted in friendship is that, oh, she's my friend, she gave me the money, and that's it. Yeah. So I think that's the honor part, and the
honor, definitely.
The honor and the respecting the other person, like, forces you to also respect the person's money. Like, me sewing into you is one thing. So you coming to me and asking me for help is another thing. Now you coming to me asking me for a loan is a different thing. So again, those three different layers are three different things that you need to address. So in friendship, what we think is like, we take things for granted, and we have this like entitlement about, like, oh, she's my friend, she's fine. And the thing is,
but
that
are
you
they?
have to be able to have this whole conversation. Right. Like, I'm fine, take your time. Or listen, for this time, I need it this day. Is that okay with you to give it to me this day? If so, let's do it. If
because
not,
when you talk about it in the beginning and put it out in the open,
exactly,
there's no like situation in the back end that's gonna come back and be like, "Boop, remember this?" You know what I mean?
Exactly. And the other thing is, like, you need to honor your words, right? So when you say something, do it. So it helps build the trust. And money is one of the things that if you don't learn it, that mammon spirit is gonna come up really quick in the relationship, and it's just gonna destroy everything. So you have to be able to use wisdom. Like, some friends you can do money with, some friends you just cannot. And the things that we need to learn in our relationship is being okay to say and to receive no's. That's the one thing that we don't know how to do. If I cannot do it, I cannot do it. And it should not hinder our relationship. And I know one of the things at the beginning with Naly is like, she had a hard time saying no. And
I would do everything. Oh, you want me to do it? Okay.
I'm comfortable with you saying no, because I would rather take a hard no than a yes, and then you having attitude after. Because for me, if I say yes, I say yes. And if I say no, it's a no. So if you're telling me yes when you mean no, and we go for it, in my head, it's like, oh, she said yes. So it does.
And she's comfortable. Like, emotionally, she's comfortable with it because she said yes. But in my mind, I'm like, oh, I was forced into this corner and have to say yes. And now I'm just aggravated because I got to do A, B, and C. And so now all this other stuff is building behind the yes. And it's like, you could have just said no. It took, and it took me a while to come to a point to be like, if I say no, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that, for me, it doesn't necessarily apply to people who grow up in church or people who don't. But I think a lot of it for me was having to deal with that fear of man and that retribution if I can't do A, B, and C. Like, will I get judged? Will I get this? Will they feel some type of way? So I had to come to a realization that my actions are in no way connected to the way that you should be feeling about me. If I can't do it, oh well. And then I had to also like deal with my oh well. Like, you need to learn how to have nuance when you're saying no. Because when I was to be really pissed off, I'm not doing it, and that's it. Or like, you know what? Unfortunately, I cannot. And if you were giving them logic and reasoning as to why you can't, I mean, sometimes it doesn't require all that explanation. But if
Yeah,
it's someone that
sometimes it
you
does not.
care about,
Yeah.
hey, I can't do it because A, B, and C. Maybe next time or whatnot. I think that nuance has kind of helped me to ease my way into working into saying no about things and not feeling bad about it.
Yeah,
Like just
that's the
saying
most
no and
important
just
thing.
being like, yeah,
Yeah, I think it, and also I think as a friend, that to test your friendship, I think saying no is one of the ways that you can test
listen,
if somebody really is with you for you,
or
or
not.
if he is with you for something else. Because you have
Mm-hmm.
to say no. There comes a time in a relationship when there has to be boundaries. It doesn't matter how
Right.
close you guys are, like they still are boundaries. Like I know that there are some things that Nali won't allow, and she knows
Right.
that there are things that I won't allow.
Yeah, let's
So
touch upon that. Boundaries. Like I think
yeah,
that people don't think it's as
before we go
important.
to boundaries, I just wanted to address
Yeah.
Shaniqua's
Okay.
aspect of she realized that she was doing relationship the wrong way, and now
Mm.
she's doing the right way. Shaniqua, can you tell us some of the ways that you are doing relationship now versus ways that you did it in the past? While we
The
talk about boundaries, can
fundamentals.
you let us
Yes.
know?
Oh, that's
And
great. Getting
everybody
the
else who's
fundamentals right.
here, can you guys let us know, like,
And you know what?
what you
I'd
are
like to
taking
say,
out of here?
excuse me.
What is
So
the big thing that you are taking out of this conversation, like about what we're
yeah.
sharing? What will be your big takeaway? You can
And,
go ahead
and the
now.
other thing, while people are doing that, I just want to acknowledge Shaniqua because sometimes the realization of I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah.
I'm doing it the incorrect way. Like we've grown up in a way that like we may have people who are showing us relationship and we think that's the way that it needs to be done. And then you meet new people. Like when I met you, I was like, is she for real? Like this is how okay, this is how she does relationship. But to me, it was such a stark contrast to what I had faced in the past that it was something I had to learn to say, I think I've been doing it wrong. Like I think I've been looking at it wrong. I think I've been handling it wrong. So I commend, Shaniqua in that essence that it is okay to understand like, hey, it's a learning process. And I think it's an ongoing learning process. It's not no, you're not getting it right overnight. And I think it's
Yes.
not every relationship is going to be perfect
Yeah.
either. You're going to have your moments,
Hi,
but it's about.
Adam. Thank you for
Oh,
joining
hey,
us.
Adam.
Yeah. So let us know. What are the ways that you have been a friend? What are some of the challenges that you are facing in your current friendships?
Yeah.
And what are your takeaways from our conversation?
Right.
Now with Nali.
Yeah.
And now like we were talking about, like we got to the point where we were talking about boundaries and learning
boundaries.
to say no and learning to respect each other's
Mm-hmm.
boundaries.
Mm-hmm. I think that boundaries are so important because it all ties back to the aspect of honor and respect that we were talking about before. Yeah. If you can respect the limitations that maybe someone has as far as just what they have set as boundaries or limitations that they're not even aware of the fact that they have that yet, but that they are doing these things that maybe you may be more developed in an area and you can see it in someone else. I think that having the honor and respect for that person to kind of let them evolve in this element of growth.
Not to cut you now, we have about like a minute and 30 seconds
left.
we
do? Look at Instagram.
Yeah.
Instagram
so let's wrap up.
I don't like the boundaries that Instagram is setting.
But yeah, this was a great conversation, guys. We were talking about boundaries. We might have to do like a part 2 of this. Maybe. This was really great. Just like sharing our testimony, our friendship, and some of the way that we navigate through it. So Shaniqua just said, listen to understand, yes. Not ignoring my feelings. Yeah, it's important to acknowledge your feelings because that's the way that you're gonna grow out of like, that sense of like, I feel this way, so I'm just gonna shut this off, but like really digging and getting to the root of it. So thank you, Shaniqua, for sharing.
But your
transparency, for being a friend, like, and participating and supporting, our ministry. I'll call it a ministry because at this point, it really does feel like ministry. Like for real. Listen, supporting our, endeavors, our businesses, supporting his chosen sheep, and just being a good friend. Thank you for that. Study your friend, absolutely.
Study your friends, right. Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, study your friends, and who Tito Price, sorry you came. We're about to log
You're
off.
catching us on the back end.
Yeah, Instagram is giving us
Instagram
30
is acting
seconds.
up.
Please,
Yeah.
guys, share. It's gonna be available on the IGTV.
Yep.
Feel free to watch it if you just log in. We will definitely do a part 2. We will keep you guys posted.
Yeah, we'll keep you guys posted.
You know, share this if you liked it, so that people can actually learn to do
and give tidbits. Give tips
in a healthy way. It is
right.
important. Thank you guys again, and then see you next time.